Les rêves des amoureux sont comme le bon vin, ils donnent de la joie.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm coming to you guys with a very different video from what I do. This is going to be a more insightful video instead of something just for fun. I've decided to do a series where I'm just going to be talking about being an international student. So in today's series I'm going to be talking about how I managed to be where I am today. Like, I have 5 points to cover today, and first one is how I got into the program. So the first time I left Botswana, I left for Norway, where I went to study the IB, which is the International Baccalaureate, in a UWC, a United World College. And UWCs are like institutions around the world. There is 17 right now. I know the last one was UWC Moshi in Tanzania. So UWC is basically a branch of college, a branch of institutions, more like A-level type of things, but this one is not called A-level, it's IB, the International Baccalaureate. So in the IB you do this rigorous program, and when you combine it with the UWC part, it becomes like quite challenging because you have all these tasks to complete. So that's that about IB and the UWC. And now I'm going to talk about how I got into the program. So I know somebody who went to UWC 2-3 years before I did, and one day I was on Facebook and I saw a post they shared on Facebook where like this UWC was being advertised, and like I'm somebody who likes writing, right? So there were a few essays, like essay prompts to respond to. So I just started writing like by pen and paper. I didn't have a laptop at that time, so I just took pen and paper and I wrote down. I responded to all the essay prompts that were there, but you only had to choose 1 or 2, I think. And on the day of the application deadline, I just asked my mother for some money. So I went to the post office and I mailed these essays I'd been writing, and like I just forgot about the whole thing. So after, like, I remember I was in Gaborone, I was applying for universities back home. It was the fair week, I think, yeah. So I had been to the fair one day, and that same day at night, like towards 7 p.m, I got a call from this unknown number. I was going to ignore it, but I was like, you know what, just pick it up. And there was this guy, he introduced himself, and I was like, okay, who are you? Then he told me I had qualified for a UWC application, and then I had to like bring myself to remember what this guy might be talking about. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, okay. So they were like, you know what, you need to come for an interview and some activities tomorrow with a parent. So I was like, I haven't told anybody about this. I'm in Gaborone with my brother, and like my mother was in Kanye. So I told my brother this is what's happening, and we called my mom, but she couldn't make it the next day. Fortunately, my uncle and his wife, they live by the place where the interview was held, so we went to sleep at their house. And my uncle took me the next day for a meeting, and then they just briefed us about UWC, the IB, and all things like that. So to cut the story short, the next day we went for activities with just the nominees of the scholarship, and there were quite a few of us. I think a little over 15 plus or minus, and I was so intimidated. Like, this was a group of absolutely intelligent people. I was just like coming to think of it, I'm quite embarrassed, honestly. So I was there just by the corner, being my usual self. Like, I'm somebody who is reserved, so you can just imagine being in a group of strangers. I knew nothing at all, but everybody was great. They tried to include me. The national committee was great, and like they just treated me as I am. So we got through the activities, and like at the end of the day, I was depressed, like so depressed. I just told myself, you know what, you're not getting this thing, but at least you got to try out. That's one thing I was proud of. So I continued with my search for a university back home. And when my mother saw me, she was like, you know, this is yours, right? And I was like, you were clearly not there. So just honestly, anybody who spoke about this thing, I wanted to punch them in the face, because I was so disappointed in myself, so to say. Like, I told myself I blew this thing, you know, like like I'm just getting worked up thinking about it. Anyway, a few weeks passed. I didn't hear anything from them, but then I heard from Botswana Accountancy College, and I was gonna go there honestly and study some accounting business thing that I know I would have not excelled at. So like after a week or so, these people called and they were like, you got in. I honestly couldn't believe it. So like I was just reluctant. I was like, my mom is the one who was pumped, and like for me, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to BAC. To cut the long story short, I got in and they told me I was going to Norway, which is this place I didn't know existed. So we started with the visa applications and whatnot. Now the requirements were not that hectic. You just had to be, I think, 16 to 19 years old and have a certain number of points, which is 40 points. Yeah, 40 points. And like you just had to be somebody who is interested in like charity work, doing like service for the community, all those things, you know. So I went on and I went to Norway, and to maintain the scholarship, I had to basically just maintain a certain number of points. I had to do certain activities every week, and I just had to be an outstanding student. So like I obviously faced a few challenges along the way, and like the most challenging thing was coming from Botswana, where I was among the top students at my institution, going to this place where like they have like star students from over 95 countries, and you get there and then you feel like you are nothing, you know. You feel like everybody is so intelligent and you're just like at the back seat, not knowing what everybody is talking about. Like literature, I was studying literature, English literature, philosophy and global politics. I had never done philosophy before except for on my own time, and I had never done global politics before. I had never taken Spanish before, so I had to struggle with these things, as well as like the other subjects I was studying. I took philosophy, English literature, global politics, Spanish, math, as well as biology. So this was quite challenging for me to just maintain my status from before, from Botswana, but somehow I managed, so thankful. Now the other thing that was quite challenging was the food. Like, noted people like eating fish. Like you have this variety of fish, and I'm somebody who's from a landlocked country. The most fish we get is canned fish, and yeah, you have like fish, but it's quite expensive and I don't really like fish. So having to eat fish every single day, and they were more like vegetarian dishes, honestly. Like it was quite hard to find good meat. And besides the food, there was the cultural shock of it all. You get into this environment with people from all over the world, and like obviously our cultures are going to clash, and you're going to experience things that you somehow feel are not right, but it just stems from cultural differences. So it was quite challenging to adjust to that. But once I told myself that, you know what, so these people are probably finding something that you are doing like weird or something, but they're still accepting you, so you might as well just accept the situation that we are from different backgrounds and all that, you know. So yeah, one thing I enjoyed the most is the community. We were in a more rural area of Norway, so like we were in between mountains. It was less than 200 students. I remember my first year we were 216, and then my second year it was, I think, 197 or so. Yeah, so that including the professors, which I think were not more than 20, as well as like there was a rehab center for old people and people with needs. So roughly we were about 500 people, 500 600 ish. So like being in this community, it was, we called it the Fleke bubble. It was quite nice. I'm somebody who likes the quiet, so like I enjoyed it mostly, but at times it felt lonely, and you know, like sometimes you just want to go to the mall and do some shopping, but in this place you had to catch a bus and do all those things. I enjoyed the close-knit community, but I could have done with like some city life. Like I'm from Botswana, and where I stayed, like you have stores all over. So coming from that environment to a place where you need a bus to go do some shopping, that was quite challenging, but I still wouldn't change it for the world. Secondly, I enjoyed learning about all these cultures from around the globe. Like every other term we would have a cultural show from either Africa and the Americas, or Europe or Asia. So like we alternated like that. So like it was quite nice every time to just learn about other people's cultures, their food, their dance, and just things in general. Then we would take hikes up the mountain, and these were required, by the way. And I'm from Botswana. We don't have mountains with snow, so you can just imagine me hiking up the mountain with my slippery boots. It was it was quite challenging, but still enjoyable. So that's one thing. And finally, I enjoyed forming bonds with all these different people. Like it's been 2 years since I graduated, but I still speak to most of my friends from UWC. So yeah, it's quite nice to have people from around the world and just form friendships, you know, friendships as well as partnerships and business ships and whatever ships you might want to form. Yeah. Now for the last bit, I have the question: is it worth it? Is it worth it to go to a UWC and do this IB thing? Honestly, my answer is yes. I feel like UWC changed my life. If I had not written those essays I spoke about in the beginning of the video, I would not be here. So honestly, I am very grateful that I took the chance when I did. I have learned so much and I grew so much as a person, and I'm still learning, but I'm obviously a better person compared to who I was 4 years ago. So I would say UWC is definitely worth it. I mean, there were points where I just wanted to quit and go back home, pack my bags and go back home, but I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, and this video obviously took longer, but I hope it was insightful to you guys, and I hope you stay tuned for the next coming series, and be sure to like, subscribe, as well as leave a comment in the comment section below. And for the meantime, you can watch some of my previous videos. I'll leave them on the screen. And with that being said, I will see you guys in my next video.